So this is a Ryzen 5 3600 with a GTX 1650, and I want to show you guys what we are able to get out of this thing. Because honestly, when I first saw the specs, I wasn't expecting much. Everything on this PC is completely stock Windows, stock BIOS, nothing touched. And this is what most people are just accepting on this hardware right now. So we are going to load up a creative 1v1 map and see how bad the FPS is on this PC with everything set to default. So in the Fortnite 1v1 map, we are getting around 300 FPS, just standing still. Now, obviously, once we start building, we're struggling to even hit 240 FPS. As you guys can see, we're going to go ahead and 1v1 this guy and see if we could even win it. So we are dropping to the 180 range, sometimes the 150 range. Just depends. Oh, and decides to go to AFK. But yeah, as you guys can see, we are getting around a maximum of 240 frames, sometimes 250, just building and 1v1ing this person. So we are going to go ahead and load up Valorant and show you guys what we're working with in terms of this Ryzen 5 3600 and GTX 1650 on bone stock. And here's the FPS in Valorant with everything set to low. We're hovering around 480 FPS, which isn't too bad. We're almost hitting that 500 FPS mark, which is actually pretty good. But this is on all low settings with the FPS uncapped, and as you can see, everything is set to off or low. So these are not competitive settings, but it is most definitely playable. However, there is a lot of stuttering when it comes to this game. Last time I played it in the deathmatch, and I'm gonna show you guys exactly what I'm talking about once we load up this deathmatch. All right, guys, so we're in the deathmatch. As you can see, we're barely getting 200 FPS, and deathmatch is one of the easiest ways to play Valorant. There's no ultimates, there's no weird effects, and it's supposed to be running pretty well. Oh, right there we dropped to 175. But yeah, we're gonna play a little bit of this and show you guys the issue that I'm talking about when it comes to the stuttering. And now this is Valorant. This is not Fortnite, Call of Duty, or any really intensive game compared to Valorant. So as you guys can see, we're basically hovering around 200 frames. I wouldn't really call this 240 FPS stable because of frequent drops and drops to 130 FPS. It's really not ideal given the fact that we're also running all low settings, and these are not competitive settings. As you can see right there, there's a little bit of a stutter. It's kind of a big issue when it comes to this game. Definitely playable, I could not lie. As long as you play deathmatch, you could play on this system. Now, does this mean this is the max that it's gonna get? Who knows? Stay tuned. Maybe it'll get even more after we're done working on this thing. Anyways, you guys get the idea when it comes to Valorant. You're gonna have frequent drops and sluggish mouse feel throughout just because of variability of the FPS. It is not consistent whatsoever, and it drops real quick. Now, I'm gonna show you guys how much FPS this thing gets on everything stock in Call of Duty. All right, so in Call of Duty benchmark on 1080p with everything set to minimum or low with NVIDIA image scaling set to performance. So that does a upscaler. So basically the game's rendering at 960 by 544, which is 50% render resolution, and then it's upscaling. Now, this isn't like DLSS. It is a mild version of it, and it does look tremendously worse. So these settings are not playable. But as you can see, we're getting 115 average FPS, 84 low fifth, and 80 low first. And the average FPS on the CPU is 145, low fifth 123, and low first 111. And it's sort of a bottleneck, even though the CPU is much faster than the GTX 1650. So the first thing we're going to go over is the BIOS, because this is honestly where most of the work happens, and most people never touch any of this stuff. And to head over into BIOS, all you got to do is just restart the computer and spam DEL or F2 on your keyboard. The first thing that I did is disable virtualization, which is SVM mode on AMD, and then on Intel it's going to be NTAR virtualization. On a gaming PC, you do not need virtualization enabled. All it does is add overhead to the processor that has no benefit whatsoever in a gaming context. However, some games do require this for their anti-cheat, which is a downside. One of them being Valorant, and also if you like Face It, that needs it enabled. Same thing with IOMMU, we disable it as well. For competitive gaming especially, this matters because certain titles like Call of Duty actually detect IOMMU, and it can negatively impact performance. So that is off. However, Again, some games do prefer this for their anti-cheat, which is a downside. Now, for the CPU itself, this CPU does not have curve optimizer like the newer processors do. So instead, we're running precision boost overdrive with a negative core voltage offset. And as you can see, we're running a almost 0.1 offset voltage in order for the CPU to run cooler and be able to sustain those boost clocks for precision boost overdrive. We're not underclocking it, we're just making it run cleaner and cooler at the same speed. And then again, precision boost overdrive, we maxed this out and we're letting it go as far as it can for the CPU's power limits. So this voltage reduction is going to help us contain those power limits and be within the range of temperatures in order for the CPU to keep its boost. Now, for the RAM, we obviously enabled AXMP, but this is the part that makes the difference on a CPU like the Ryzen 5 3600, and here's why. This CPU does not have 3D V-cache, and what that means is the processor has a relatively small amount of fast local memory called L3 cache. When it runs out of that, it reaches to your RAM for data. So how fast your RAM is directly affects how the CPU can do its job. Every single frame in every single game matters. On a newer CPU with X3D V-cache, like the 9800 X3D, the cache is so large that the CPU almost never really needs to reach out to RAM. So overclocking the memory on those chips barely moves the needle. On this Ryzen 5, it moves it a lot. This is the most impactful change we have made on this entire PC. On top of enabling AXMP, we push the frequency here up to 373.3. Then the voltages on the RAM, these are set to keep the kit stable at this speed. Too low and it crashes, too high and you are stressing the memory over the long term and you are probably going to reach instability. This is the sweet spot that I've spent 2 hours on for this specific RAM kit. Then we're going to go over the timings. These control how the RAM communicates with the CPU. Tighter timings means faster communication. We set everything here based on the die type of this specific RAM kit. And gear down mode, we disabled it. That's why you can see it's grayed out. The reason this memory overclock matters so much on the CPU than on something like a 9800 X3D or a 5800 X3D is exactly what I just explained. No V-cache means every frame depends on how fast the RAM can feed the processor. The jump we made here is significant and you are about to see the numbers. Now, Windows, and this is the other half of the optimization. A stock Windows installation is obviously not built for gaming. It is built for everyone. Office workers, students, casual users. That means there are scheduled tasks firing in the background, services running that have no reason to be there while you are gaming, registry settings and power plant options that have never been touched since the factory. And what we run on this PC is the same Windows configuration we use on every single client, power plant dialed in, registry tweaks applied, background processes cut down to what actually needs to be running. And if you have ever seen the process count on an optimized system versus a stock one, the difference is significant. Same thing we do whether it is a budget build like this or a high-end competitive system. The foundation is always the same. All right, so with that in mind, and our CPU is boosting above 4 gigahertz, and our RAM is set to 370.33, and our GTX 1650 is on the latest NVIDIA drivers, we are going to go ahead and launch Fortnite and check out the performance. All right, so in Fortnite, we're running 1080p performance mode, and as you can see, everything is set to off or low with NVIDIA Reflex set to on for this particular PC. So as you guys can see, we're hitting almost 500 FPS standing still right there. Now we're around 430. Now let's just go ahead and build. As you can see, we're way inside of that 300 to mid 300 range compared to before. Before we were even struggling to get 240. So now we're obviously able to get way more than that. And the game feels insane. Now on this particular type of graphics card, it is very hard to maintain this amount of FPS on 1080p. So you might see that the FPS is fine. However, in terms of input lag, you might want to consider dropping down the resolution from 1080p to, for example, 1600 by 900, just because the graphics card is going to be able to handle that a little bit better, given how low end it is, and be able to deliver those frames faster, and you get better frame times, which leads to better input lag. So as you guys can see, I'm going to wait for somebody to join, and we're going to 1v1 them, and I'm going to show you guys the side-by-side difference in between these two configurations. All right, guys, finally somebody has joined. We're going to go ahead and 1v1 them. As you can see, we're not dropping at 100 frames anymore. We're still maintaining that 300 FPS range. Oh, he got me. Let's see if we can get a win against this guy. Good hit right there. Ah, man. Try this again. Boom, just like that. So yeah, guys, just way more playable when it comes to Fortnite, especially just because of how intensive this game is on the CPU. Every little thing that you do to make the CPU run faster, it's going to be noticeable, especially on a processor like this that doesn't have a lot of L3 cache and doesn't have the technology of X3D. So in Valorant, in the shooting range, we are actually almost hitting 600 frames on the shooting range, which is absolutely absurd. And it's honestly unbelievable. I'm kind of surprised myself. I didn't know this thing could still get 600 in 2026. So this is absolutely insane. If Valorant is your main game, then this hardware is not going to be holding you back anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and load up a deathmatch and see if I'm getting those same annoying stutters that were messing up my aim earlier. So as you guys can see, it is a night and day difference. We're almost hitting that 400 FPS range in game on a Ryzen 5 3600 and GTX 1650. Let that sink in, guys. This is a GTX 1650 single fan graphics card with a 6-core processor that used to be a pretty good budget processor back in 2020. So we do dip, obviously, not surprised that we do, but at least we're not dipping to the hundreds. So if you had a 240 hertz monitor and you're trying to play Valorant at 1080p, this is going to be perfect, no issues whatsoever. And I'm going to go ahead and flick my mouse a couple times and see if I can get that annoying stutter or try to replicate if we are going to get it. So far, so good, no problems there. And as you can see, the total frame time is dropped significantly compared to before. I'm gonna show you guys what it was at before. And basically, that correlates directly with your input lag because frame times is basically each millisecond between each frame. So right now, we're getting 3 milliseconds per frame. And before, you can see what it's on right now. It's obviously a night and day difference. Your shots are going to be quicker, you're going to be able to react faster, and the PC is not going to be a bottleneck when it comes to your performance in a game like this. Now, obviously, this is all low settings. These are not settings that are competitive. You start booting up the settings a little bit, you are going to make it more GPU bottlenecked, which in this case, that's bad just because of how bad the graphics card it really is. Now, this is the only game that I'd realistically be enjoying on this PC along with Fortnite. A game like Call of Duty, given the settings that we were running previously, I don't feel like you should even attempt unless you upgrade the graphics card, given on how intensive that is on the graphics card and why the settings just make it look so bad and unplayable. Now, if you really want to play Call of Duty to play with your friends, I understand it. And in that case, it's more than playable after doing all the stuff. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump into Call of Duty and show you guys the benchmark after we're done all of this stuff. But as you could tell alone, just from the CPU's performance in Valorant and in Fortnite, it's a night and day difference, and we actually made this PC playable in 2026. All right, everybody, here is the Call of Duty result. As you can see, we're getting around almost 150 frames. And as you can see that the average FPS is way higher now. We're at 222. And now it seems like you can actually play on this, at least sustain that 100 FPS mark on this particular PC. Now, this is the benchmark, which tends to be a little bit lower than multiplayer in Black Ops 7. But the downside is, as you can tell from my character's look just in the lobby, it is absolutely atrocious when it comes to quality. So let's just say that you're on a similar PC to this and you want to know the settings I'm running pretty much all low. I have NVIDIA image scaling set to performance. In this type of situation, I might want to try out some of these other upscaling technologies like FSR or Intel XeSS. It might be better than NVIDIA image scaling. See which one gives me the most performance while preserving that still native resolution look. I wouldn't run it Fidelity FX CAS on this PC just because this does reduce the performance. You're still going to be rendering 1080p. It's just going to be sharpening the image. So I wouldn't recommend this for this particular graphics card. Not too bad, not too shabby. That's pretty much the result right there. If you are on the system, it is not that bad when it comes to playing COD, at least a playable level. So yeah, this is the Ryzen 5 3600 GTX 1650 in 2026. It's not dead, it just needs some work. And if you guys will have any questions about what we did here, drop them in the comments and I will answer everything. And if you want this done on your own PC, the link's in the description. Peace.